Welcome to the Vegas Voice Celebrity Corner. I'm your host, Evan Davis, and I'll be bringing you a front row seat to behind-the-scenes interviews with performers and entertainers here in Las Vegas. My guest today is a comic, impressionist, and radio host, Rich Natoli.
Hey, how are you?
Welcome,
good
Rich.
To see you.
Good to see you too. Being an impressionist and a radio host, how do people not know if that person is really on or if it's you? I mean, is George Burns still alive? They don't know. They can't see it.
Well, then we throw in George. We throw in Bob Hope. But I want to tell you, I love hosting shows, but basically not. Well, I never make the show about me. Mm-hmm. You know, when I host a Vegas Voice radio show,
sure.
I always make it about the guest because I like you. You like to highlight the guest. That's what I like to do.
Well, not really. Okay.
I like to hear their stories, though. I love hearing the stories.
I know. And even though I've heard them before, some of the stories, sometimes other stories come out that are great. Yeah. For instance, was it always in your blood to be in showbiz? Because you are in showbiz.
Well, I just did, I started in school, really high school, doing high school shows and stuff, doing impressions and everything. But you reminded me of a funny story Rich Little told me about, I love to hear the stories. He said one time he was doing, because he was our guest on the show, Rich Little was doing the Rich Little show. It was back in the 70s, right? And he said Bing Crosby was a guest performer on the show that week, right, on the variety show. And there was a sketch where, Bing Crosby would always go, and he would talk like that. But he didn't really know he talked like that. So they were doing a sketch where Rich Little and everybody in the sketch, Bing Crosby, everybody in the sketch was kind of talking like Bing. They were all, well, what's for breakfast? I don't know. It's going to be blueberries. And they were all doing that. So in the rehearsal, they did the rehearsal like that. Bing goes into Rich Little's dressing room after the rehearsal. And he says, oh, Rich, I don't think I could do this sketch. Rich Little goes, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, all that buzz stuff. I don't know what you're doing there. Rich Little goes, we're doing you. We're doing an impression of you. And he said, I don't think I could do that. You're going to have to show me how to do that. Rich Little said, you can want me to show you how to do you? he goes, you're you. It's so funny. But Bing didn't hear that he goes that he does that.
That's amazing. People don't hear things like.
Well, Jay Leno doesn't know that he talks like this. And I remember I was doing an impression of him when we were working a club in Houston, Texas, and I was talking like him, and everybody around was laughing. And Leno goes, well, I don't think that I really talk like that. Because they don't hear,
Well, who are some of your favorite impressions that you do?
Oh, I've been having a field day with Trump still.
Okay.
Joe Biden is a liar. Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Biden has told so many lies that even Satan is saying, that's enough, Joe. That's enough. I told you 1,000 lies. That's the limit. You keep going, Joe. That's enough. I've been having a field day with
I'm sure you have. But when you're performing, because you do some of the stuff on stage too, when you're performing, how do you prepare yourself for this? I mean, getting into character or what?
Well, it's basically, I don't really use notes. I basically just, when I write a bit, I just memorize it and go out and do it. And I've been doing this for so many years that, it becomes like if you're an airline pilot and you've been flying planes, you go down your quick checklist, but you know what you're doing. You've done it so many times, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
I don't want to fly again. With any experienced people,
you
that's
don't want to fly
sure.
if I'm flying the plane, but I want to tell you.
Yeah. Now, this last year with the pandemic and everything else, it's been rough on everybody. Yeah. What have you been doing to stay afloat with?
Well, we wrote a movie. My friend John Pate, great comedian, great writer, wrote a movie with me. It's a faith-based movie called Faith Wins. I think you'll see the code on the screen there if you want to donate to the production. It's going to benefit the homeless, and it's a movie about a performer in Las Vegas that actually ends up homeless. And he was a successful entertainer, a comedy performer. He ends up homeless on the streets of Vegas, and he never had faith, and he develops faith on his journey. And there's an animal, a dog in the movie. And so we were going to donate to animal rescue as well as the homeless. So it'll benefit both causes. So Anything you donate is going to go to the production, and after the movie is made, the monies will go to the homeless and to animal rescue. And our goal is to, once the movie's released, Faith Wins movie, we want to do some live fundraisers for the homeless, and because it's a big problem here. You know, the homeless population. It's a big problem. It's a problem in the country, but it's a big problem in Vegas.
Yeah, and I know a lot of homeless entertainers and performers in town.
Well, we know some that look like homeless people, but they're not really homeless. So,
well, whose idea was this movie?
The movie, well, the movie. The movie came to me in a dream. Actually, it was told to me in a dream.
Okay.
The title of the movie. No, I know it sounds weird. It was actually told to me in a dream. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning after having this dream, and wrote the entire story at my desk. And then my friend John did the individual scenes for the movie. And so we put together the whole script that way.
Wow. Okay.
And so it's going to be a great movie. And it's going to be, we want it to be shown at, at churches and theaters and whatever other exposure we can get for it.
Yeah. I don't know if theaters are going to be open anymore. I don't know. It's been...
Yeah, you think they'll die out? I don't know.
I don't know. How do you think that Vegas is going to start coming back? In what way? I know it's got to be a little different than it was before.
I think in time it'll all come back. Vegas, one thing about Vegas, it's very resilient and it's always changing. Mm-hmm. So if you look at the things they've tried here that didn't work, those are all, like the paid parking, for instance. What happened with that?
Resort fees and paid parking.
Hey, some corporate guy had a brilliant idea. Let's charge everybody for parking, even locals that live here, and then we'll just make more money. No, they won't recommend your hotel, and your money will go like that.
Well, I think that probably started because of the stadium.
Yeah.
In both stadiums that opened up, everyone was going to the games, parking somewhere for free, and then going over to the games and causing that to
the
happen.
Golden Knights games.
Yeah.
I think Vegas will always bounce back. I think entertainment's starting to bounce back already. I think once this whole pandemic thing is history, it's going to be flourishing.
I know. Vegas seems to reinvent itself daily.
New York City does too, so I think New York City will be fine too.
Yeah, they'll be coming back. Broadway's going to be coming back, I think, in a few months.
Yeah.
And the Smith Center is going to be reopening shortly.
Yeah.
And so we're looking forward to it.
The last year, I think as bad as this pandemic was, I think what it did was it gave people kind of pause, look at your life, look at what you're doing, and there's some positives that are now coming out of that. People that didn't spend time with their kids were kind of forced to spend time with their families and their kids. People that developed talents that they didn't know they had, like we wrote the script, we created an animation cartoon for YouTube also. And so I think that it created some good things.
Yeah, and
as bad as it was.
And the divorce rate went way up too during that pandemic year. I know that. But
and babies were being made too. So we got to look at both sides of this divorce rate.
Tell me about the craziest place you ever performed.
There's been so many of them. I've done my act everywhere. Pizza parlors, bowling alleys, coffee houses. When I started, we did comedy. We had comedy nights everywhere. There was comedy on every corner. And in Southern California, there wasn't an inch of Southern California that I didn't do comedy at one time or another.
Really?
And you'd go there and you'd get paid and you'd do your act. And you'd walk in and go, oh, it's a side room of a bowling alley. Okay. And there's an audience in there. So you do,
I know.
But, so there's been a lot of crazy places.
Now, the Vegas Voice has a show coming up April 24th. And you're going to be the opening act for that show.
Yeah. And Mark is there, right?
Yes, Mark O'Toole is going to be the headliner. What do you have any idea? Can you tell them what you think you may be doing or planning on doing?
Well, I do comedy impression bits. I do all kinds of different pieces, and I'm always writing. I'm doing some new bits like talking GPS, celebrity GPS systems. Everybody's got GPS now. You have a GPS in your car, on your phone, right? That's telling you where to go, right? Uh-huh. And I'm thinking what would an Al Pacino talking GPS say? You're going to go to the corner, you're going to make a left. Then you're going to go 2 more blocks, you're going to make a right. Gonna go another 3 blocks, make another right. Then I want you to make one more right. Congratulations, you made so many rights, you're now a Republican. Hoo-wah!
Well, that's pretty interesting.
So I'm always writing new bits, you know.
As far as crowds go, largest crowd, smallest crowd?
You know, it doesn't matter to me anymore. I do my show, I've done my show for 10 people, 6 people, 8 people, and I've done my show for 12,000 people at the Aloha Towers in Hawaii with John Panette. You all remember the great comedian. He was a big comic, John Panette. He passed away, but he was one of the best. And John and I worked the Aloha Towers in Hawaii one time, 12,000 people for a Colgate Palmolive convention, but the big screens and everything out there. And it was so much fun. So to me, it doesn't matter, you know, whether you're playing that or you're playing to a small crowd, you give them a show. If you're there to do a show, you don't phone it in. Wayne Newton, when I worked with Wayne Newton for 6 months in his show, Wayne would say to some people in the show, not me, because I never did, he would say, "You don't ever phone it in. Go out there and give them a show." And that's the thing. You don't phone it in. If there's 10 people there and they paid their tickets, you give them a show. You know, you do what you do.
Talking about phoning it in, now you have a radio show, the Vegas Voice, radio show. Not sure exactly what it's called other than the Vegas Voice radio show. Right. Tell us who some of your guests are and how you go about doing that.
Oh, we've had I literally get emails every day from publicists around the country that want to put their clients on. It's gotten so popular, but it's a celebrity interview show. We have, everyone. We've had the people from Walker, Texas Ranger on the show, Cherie J. Wilson, Clarence Gilliard. We've had I've interviewed everybody from Leave It to Beaver, Jerry Mathers, to to Vanna White from Wheel of Fortune. Oh my gosh, Donnie Most, Happy Days. Big producers, big directors, producing big movies. So just all kinds of guests like that.
How long have you had the radio show going?
God, we've been doing that for years now. I think we've been doing it for 5 years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, 1400 AM. Well, we're on 1400 AM. We've been on the least for 4 years. That's KSHP 1400 AM, kshp.com. If you go on the web there, every Thursday, 10:05 AM, we go live until 11 AM on Thursdays.
Yeah. So. Is there any one person, actor, actress, or comedian, whatever, that has really been the person that's impressed you the most or had the most influence on your career?
You mean a guest that I've interviewed?
No, just someone that.
Well, you know, the people. Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, you know, Rich Little and Fred Travalena and Frank Gorshin. These were the guys that were doing what I wanted to do, you know, as a comedy impressionist performer. So those guys had a tremendous influence on me, and I think on a lot of people in the comedy community.
Yeah.
And so, you know, the people that are doing what you want to do, if you get around those people, you're going to learn, you know, no two ways about it.
Yeah.
You don't reinvent the wheel. You see what they're doing, you do what they're doing and model after them. And Rich Little was an amazing, you know, mentor.
He still is.
Still is.
Yeah, he's still kicking here in Vegas.
Yeah, he's still out there. He's at the Tropicana working.
Yeah. And on that note, we're going to say goodbye to our guest, Rich Natoli. And we'll have you back again shortly. His radio station, the GoFundMe page for his movie.
Yeah, the GoFundMe page. You go to GoFundMe.com and you go to Faith Wins the movie production for the homeless. Faith Wins movie production for the homeless on GoFundMe.com.
Yeah, I'm sure you're writing that down right now. But Rich, thanks again for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And my very best.
All right, thank you, sir.